And hello, everybody. We're back with a new episode of our award-winning, no joke program. We're going to be covering a couple of topics today. Keith, how's everything on your end? Seattle.
Well, things are good here. It's very warm in Seattle, as you may have heard. We've had 90 degrees, but it's still early in the morning. And so glad to be at the show, and after the show, get some work done before it gets too hot.
Okay. And here in New Jersey, we're kind of swinging between record heats and storms. As has become usual, we've gotten to really kind of over 110 degrees in parts of New Jersey this week. And so
that's hot.
It is hot. It is hot. And I'm lucky we have air conditioning. We to those who did not see it, I had a show last week with a writer that wrote about AC. I recommend checking it out. It was a half an hour show, kind of informative on.
Yeah, I caught part of it. That was pretty interesting. I did want to. I wish I was there to shout about carbon credits, though, because that went by you guys, and they're not the same as taxes.
No, we know.
The government only would collect them to give them to the people. But anyway,
absolutely,
yeah, it was good.
But those were not like in terms of air conditioning gases. It's not
sure.
as it's not as central to that. So it's kind of like mostly we were talking about the greenhouse gases that were involved. So let's look at today's show. We have still no full commitment of our administration on climate emergency action, as things are becoming extremely critical, and we've seen the IPCC report last week that was very dire, and pretty much said if we don't knock it off now in response to fossil fuels, then we are going to have a runaway global warming, which is worse than just containing it within the 2-degree idea that we're hoping to do. And 2 degrees is plenty. We're at 1.1, and everybody can see the effects of it as is. I think there's been kind of an underestimate of that. All right, the second thing was Google and telecommuting employee exploitation. We're going to cover how corporate America is dealing with the challenges or opportunities that the pandemic has created. And finally, to those who Stick with us to the very bitter end, I have a bonus for you. I have Dr. Seuss'ish rendition of the Lorax, and that is a little clip that I've created with a revised text, and we'll get into it a little later. All right, so
I'll stick to the end.
That's at the very end. That's our outro. All right, to those who want to contact us, you can use Twitter and use the hashtag UHM no joke. All right. So Keith, tell us about our first topic.
Yes, and I'm behind here because I forgot to open the slide deck. So why don't you just keep talking for a minute here?
Okay. Well, we have a little clip of Biden. I don't know.
Here we go. Yes.
that
Got it open.
Like
Sorry
Biden.
about that, everybody.
That doesn't look like Biden, Keith.
No, that's not. That looks like a oil tanker that's coming from Saudi Arabia. but it relates. I picked the picture out. You know, you need a picture to put in the front of the video when you put something on YouTube. And I actually put something together out of, as I do with a couple other videos. And the reason I do this is just kind of keep us on track. You know, when we pick this stuff out, you know, we have a certain intention, and it's easy for me to like kind of get it all together, and then it's done and we don't have to mess up. So let's see what I did with this, because there'll be some stuff popping up.
Okay.
So go ahead and play it.
All right. How's our video? How's our audio, by the way? I see that Human Love Solidarity, I said we had a little bit of low volume. I hope it's better now. How is it now? Okay, let's run the clip in the meantime and see.
My director of the National Economic Council has asked the chair of the Federal Trade Commission to use every available tool to monitor the U.S. gasoline market and address any illegal conduct that might be contributing to price increases at the pump while the cost of barrel oil is going down. We also made clear to OPEC, the major oil exporting nations of the world, that the production cuts made during the pandemic should be reversed as the global economy recovers in order to lower prices for consumers.
Yeah.
Pump, baby, pump.
Pump, baby,
yeah.
pump.
Okay, this clip's here because Biden, it was on Wednesday that he suggested that OPEC increase the supply of oil to the world so that consumer prices can come down. And, you know, that's very upsetting to a lot of people. And I dug into it and find out why he was being so foolish. And it turns out that the consumer price index is going up at the current rate. The 3 months, average right now is at 8.1%. And so this is about triple the inflation that we claim we don't have, you know. And since 2007, the CPI has gone, you know, basically Americans have lost 25% of their purchasing power since, 2007. And to suddenly have it in the last 3 months starts diving 3 times faster than it has been has kind of put Biden in a spot. So he, wants to throw the environment under the bus and suggests that consumers need low prices so that we can all get back, get the economy humming again, because our politicians, that's the only thing they see is the economy. Is a strong economy will cure all evils, and of course it won't, and we know better, but that's their point of view. So that's why that's there. It's very discouraging, and it shows that then Democrats and Republicans are beholden to the same corporate interests, as another video clip we'll be playing this morning reiterates.
And it shows that they still are not getting it. They just simply are not getting it.
No, they're not. Okay, yeah, let's move right on to the next one. I'll say who this is first. This is Paul Beckwith. He has his own YouTube channel where he makes some very interesting shows on the science of climate change. So he looks at things from a scientific point of view. And I picked him to introduce the IPCC report because that's still very much timely. It was, I'm sorry to miss yesterday. I had my computer crash right before I was going to get ready for the show the night before, and my screens went blank, and so I had to miss it. But I brought back the IPCC again because it's pretty important what it says. And so I put this together, and Paul's going to introduce something, kind of get us in the mood to watch the second part. And the second part is from a clip from a video. And I just love this guy. The channel is called Second Thought, and he's somewhere here in Seattle with me. And I'll say more after the clips. So I'll stop ranting away, and let's just go ahead and see what Paul has to say.
Paul Beckwith, and I'm long overdue for a video. It's been a very, very busy summer so far. And behind me, you can see Lac Leamy, and there's a big water fountain in the center there. And of course, it's a very dark and ominous sky. So that sets the tone for this video and my discussions, because of course I'll be talking about abrupt climate system change. And I'll just pan around slowly here. There's a little marina, and this is Casino Lac Leamy. So this is very pertinent because we're all in the climate casino right now, and many cities, many places are being affected strongly in an adverse manner by abrupt climate system change, whether it be wildfires or torrential rains leading to flooding or droughts, withering crops, or what have you. Okay, so I mean, the climate casino is a very apt description, because no place in the world is exempt or immune or isolated from abrupt climate system change. We're all in this on the planet. Many places are being affected unequally. Some are being hit hard repeatedly, where others are having less adverse conditions. But we're heading to a world where we have global food shortages leading to famine. And of course, this will affect every single person on the planet. So the report, Working Group 1 by the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, just came out, of course.
Unless you've been living under a rock, you know by now that climate change is happening, and it's not looking good. The fallout from the rapid warming, caused mainly by human activity, will be severe, and it's already begun. As of writing this script, Greece has been burning for over a week and is showing no signs of stopping. Thousands of people have had to evacuate under red skies, blistering heat, and suffocating smoke. Other countries face similar conditions, as we saw in Australia not too long ago. Coastal regions face unprecedented flooding, as I saw firsthand while shooting a documentary in the Marshall Islands. We're beginning to see the first climate refugees as entire regions become uninhabitable. The IPCC, an international group at the forefront of climate research, has just put out their most recent paper, and it's shocking. You may be thinking, yeah, I've heard this before. It's true. The entire scientific community has been begging policymakers to listen for decades. But guess what? It's looking like it's too late. The new report is full of data that even the experts didn't expect, at least not so soon. Glaciers are melting at rates that should be happening at higher levels of warming. Permafrost is melting at rates climate scientists didn't expect we'd see for another 70 years. Flooding exceeds expectations, as do droughts, wildfires, and extreme weather. The bottom line is that 1.5 degrees of warming, which has been the number scientists have urged us to try to stay below, is going to produce consequences that look more like 3 degrees of warming. The climate crisis is accelerating. We can no longer ignore the fallout. It's only going to get worse. Now, it's only dystopian if we refuse to adapt and mitigate the fallout, right? Surely world leaders are working tirelessly to solve the problem. Come on, you should know better than that. Without fail, world leaders are refusing to take sufficiently radical steps to stave off the worst effects of climate change. In fact, here in the US, the current administration is carrying on with business as usual. While Republicans will openly deny climate change to muddy the waters and keep their corporate donors happy, plenty of well-meaning Americans believe the Democrats actually care. They do not. While they pay lip service to long-established science, the Democrats are beholden to the same corporate interests as their more repugnant colleagues. For example, Biden recently said, "We can't wait to tackle the climate crisis. The signs are unmistakable, the science is undeniable, and the cost of inaction keeps mounting." That's nice. And yet, approvals for oil drilling are on track to reach their highest level since George W. Bush was president. A politician's words don't mean anything if they constantly act in a way that contradicts their flowery language. The situation is pretty grim. Politicians understand this, but they are invested, often literally, in the preservation of the status quo which benefits them and the rest of the rich and powerful. Read the IPCC report for yourself. I've left a link in the description. Voting for the less awful presidential candidate isn't enough anymore. While climate change is definitely the most pressing issue facing our species, and many other species, dystopian fiction often focuses on
U.S. corporate companies are figuring out how to best exploit their employees. That's probably what they're best at. Well, what they've done basically is they decided that in order anybody who wants to continue telecommuting from work past this point in their offices instead of coming in would have to have a reduced pay. Now, the people who are living further out in the suburbs, who have like a commute of an hour and a half or so, have the biggest drop, which is like 3.5. I believe it's $3.5 less an hour than the other ones, according to their calculator that they made available to their employees. And this is interesting because there's really no logic to it that the further people would have to lose more of their wage to compensate for working from home, unless you're thinking of it as a leverage, as a bargaining chip. You want to avoid spending 3 hours in traffic every day? Okay, then pay us back. Kind of, I find it reprehensible that they have such a horrific toll, and it's kind of an extortion when you think about it. This week, Keith experienced some hardware issues with his computer. He updated the driver for his graphics card, and that did not work. So after that, he attempted to upgrade his computer, but unfortunately, he found out that there's no graphics cards on the market, because the graphics cards were kind of subsumed by people who are using them for cryptocurrency mining. And so we will be covering that and the whole aspect. We'll have a guest here next week, Sean Ball, who's one of those crypto rats, having a mining farm in his basement. And we will be talking about the downs and ups of this industry or this technology. And there's a lot of misunderstanding of the technology because the media is painting things in broad brushstrokes. So we will be getting into the details of that. It will be kind of an interesting discussion. So tune in next week, next Saturday, to join us on that. Okay, lacking Keith, I will just simply cover some of what he was going to talk about. This is a measuring station in the permafrost in Siberia. They've had these stations measuring the release of methane from the ground, and there's been kind of alarming news. What's new from Siberia, and it had to do with the release of methane. So scientists have been warning about a runaway global warming situation where there would be a positive feedback, and part of what would feed that feedback is that ice in the permafrosts of the tundra in Siberia would start melting, and methane gas that was trapped there for millions of years would start going into the atmosphere, causing its own cycle of global warming. And that is a huge concern because methane is a multiple time, some say 37, some say 84 times more. The numbers are all over the place, but it's clearly the severity of the effect that methane has, and that's methane. The methane is basically natural gas. The effect of that is much bigger than carbon dioxide. So that is the issue of concern, and we could see satellite images that show that there is a huge release of methane in those areas that were of concern. So that's again unhappy news. We're going to keep tracking that, and nobody really knows. Nobody can tell whether we're past the tipping point or not. But we're getting very close if we haven't. And the fact that that politicians are unwilling to just cold turkey take drastic measures to cut fossil fuels, and that includes China, because China has agreed to cut coal power production by 2030, which is going to be too late. The global scientist community says that the latest that it can be brought down to zero should be 2025 if we're to avoid a meltdown. So it's not reassuring either. Getting to the finish line after the train has left is not going to be very helpful. But we have to keep on pushing on this. So let me just mention before I treat you to the Lorax version, the Lorax soda. I'm going to just mention a couple of our upcoming shows next week. So next week we will have a candidate for Congress running actually in my district in New Jersey, District 10, and her name is Imani Oakley. She's a young lady. I've had some opportunities to talk to her in the past. She's a progressive, and she'll join us on Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. So tune in, and you can ask questions. We're going to cover her perspectives and what she would bring to Congress if elected. We have currently an incumbent who's been running in this district for as long as I remember, and she's hoping to unseat him. So that's that. We have also an interesting show coming up regarding the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine, separating truth from fiction. With me will be Professor Yair Argon. That's not Argon. Yair Argon he's an immunologist. He's going to discuss the recent conspiracies that are going around, and some of them are rooted in truth, some of them are not, but we'll kind of try to make a little bit of order in that, and understand what is true, what is not, and be completely honest and transparent about it, because my approach, that even if a topic is a little bit complicated or involved, it's worth getting into it. It's worth getting into the detail so that we know what we're talking about, because otherwise you can very easily kind of get derailed and get off the truth road. So those are shows that we are going to have next week, and let me remind you, Jessica Cisneros is running in Texas, 28th District. and her website is now on. I'm hoping at some point we're going to be able to talk to her. We'll see, but either way, please support her. She's a progressive, trying to run against a very establishment Democrat in her district, and we need people like her in Congress. If you haven't seen her ad yet, you can find it on YouTube. All right, and now without further ado, I'm gonna show you the Lorax sorta. That required quite a bit of work, actually, more than I thought initially, but I think it was worth it. I hope you'll enjoy it. I'll upload a version of it onto the channel, so you can watch it on its own and share it. I've decided to make Dr. Seuss a little less veiled, a little more direct. All the endangered species in this story are actual endangered species in the Amazonian rainforest, and the trees are actual trees, and they're also endangered, of course. And I made it a little less pretty or masked, if you will. So I severely cannibalized the text, but I hope for a good end. So here it is. I hope you enjoy it. See you later. See you next week. Bye-bye. At the far end of town, where the Pariana grass grows, and the wind smells sulphury and gives you some pause, is the land of the old Lorax, where it once was. And deep in the Pariana grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today, where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could before somebody pushed the Lorax away. What was a Lorax? What was it indeed? And why was it victim to corruption and greed? From the far end of town, where the Priana grass grows, Jair still lives here. Ask him, he knows. If you're like me and you feel bold, go to the sanctuary he bought with his gold, the big money he made before he got old. And on special dank midnights in August he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was here once upon a day. He'll tell you, perhaps, you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 5 reals and nail, and the shell of a now very rare great-great-grandfather snail. Then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count, to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him in his snub, his secret strange hole in his grovelous glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by phone, for the secrets I tell you are for your ears alone. No one can afford upkeep of the telecom tower, which is why the signal here lacks any power. So listen close, chap. 'cause I got only half an hour. Now I will tell you, he said with a growl, dry cough, how the Lorax got pushed and simply died off. It all started way back, such a long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, the canopy full, and the clouds were still clean. And the song of the hyacinth macaw rang out in space on the morning I came to this glorious place. And I first saw the trees, the kapok trees, the white tuft of the kapok trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees golden lion tamarinds were playing, while the beautiful land I was surveying. From the nearby river came unusual sound of the arapamia fish as it was splashing around. But those trees, those kapok trees, all my life I was searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tuft was much softer than flannel, and they had the sweet smell, that of Chanel. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. In no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a kapok tree with one chop. And with great skillful skill, and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. The instant I'd finish, I heard gazump. I looked, I saw someone pop out of a stump of the tree I chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him, that's hard, I don't know if I can. Was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed. What's that thing you've made out of the kapok tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed's a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses, yes, farther beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers, or bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that fool feed. But the very next minute I proved he was wrong. For just that instant a consumer came by, and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was quite a great buy. And he happily bought it for 39.5. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid dude. Now scram before I change my attitude. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shut up, if you please. I didn't waste any more time, because that would be a crime. I called my friends, but on the government dime. Get your ass to Manasau, then turn right, to get you too some wealth, power, and might. And in no time at all in the factory I built, the whole Bolsonaro mafia was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of kapok trees. Then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my Super X hacker, which whacked off 4 kapok trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up for a while anymore. But the next week, he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, "I'm the Lorax, who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But golden lion tamarinds are also my worry, and they too seem to be approaching the end of their story. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough kapok fruit to go round. And my poor tamarinds are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They loved living here, but without food they will expire, and I have to say their fate seems very dire." I felt a bit sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies in tummies, you know. I meant no harm, I most truly did not. But I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered the loads. Of the thneeds I shipped out, I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. "I'm the Lorax," he coughed and was truly pathetic. I just sat there and was not at all sympathetic. "Jair," he cried with a querulous croak, "Jair, you're making such smogulous smoke. I sent my cows. Why, they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in their throat. I sure will miss their beautiful coat." "What's more," snapped the Lorax, his dander was up, "let me say a few words about Gloppity-Glop. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making Gloppity-Glop also sloppity-slop. And what do you do with the leftover goo? I'll show you, you careless Jair, you. You're glumping the ponds where the aparanya fish swam. Now they too are in a bit of a jam. They can no longer breathe as their gills are clogging, and that's clearly all due to your logging." Then I got mad, 'cause it was quite enough of him that I heard. I yelled at the Lorax, "Now listen here, tree-hugging liberal nerd. All you do is yap, yap, and whine, but you have no money to help you, it's all mine. So crawl back into some stump someplace other, or as far as I care, go cry to your mother." And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside the fields came an unassuming smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard a tree fall, the very last kapok tree of them all. No more trees, no more thieves, no more jobs, no more money in gobs. So they all waved goodbye, and the only thing left under the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a stare. I saw in his look he did not find it quite fair. But he quietly and sadly took one breath of a smog-filled air. Then he stood up in place, and then slowly but surely walked off without leaving a trace. And all that the Lorax left here nonetheless was a small pile of rocks with one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long time ago, but each day since that day I've sat here and worried away. Through the years, while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, said Jair, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seemed perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Catch, he let something fall on the ground. What is it, I asked. It is quite round. It's a kapok seed, he replied, and he let it rebound. You are now in charge of the last kapok seed, and kapok tree are what everyone left need. Plant a new kapok, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack. Just wish I could say the Lorax and all could come back.